one of my best songs. It's the first song in my songbook. All mixed up. Who knows, who knows? I was 21 and I met a fellow who hitchhiked into New York from the West Coast. And he liked to write words and find an old tune to put them to. And now he's famous because one of these songs is known by everybody in the country. This Land Is Your Land. His name was Woody Guthrie. And I was a rather typical narrow-minded Easterner. I got good marks in school, but I'd never been west. Farthest west I'd ever been was Washington, D.C. My father had a job down there. And Woody says, Pete, put your banjo on your back and walk into a bar and buy a nickel beer and sip it as slow as you can. Sooner or later, somebody will say, kid, can you play that thing? Don't be too eager. Say maybe, a little, but keep on sipping your beer. Sooner or later, somebody will say, kid, I got a quarter for you if you pick us a tune. Now you swing it around and play your best song. And I never went hungry all the way to Montana and then back down to Florida, but I found I was learning the best music in the mountains. Appalachian Mountains from North Georgia through Tennessee, up through Kentucky and West Virginia. And every time I heard somebody pick a banjo, I'd say, here, show me how you do that. By the end of the year, I was a much better banjo picker than I'd been, and could sing better too. As a matter of fact, when I was drafted into the Army, I noticed they kept sending draftees north from the south and south from the north. I said, maybe I can fool them. And I spent the last week of freedom before I was drafted riding freight trains down to Alabama, and was drafted in Scottsboro, Alabama. It had a terrible racist trial there way back in '33. But anyway, my fellow draftees were so surprised to find a Yankee could play a banjo, they called me New York. That was my nickname. And then finally I spent a whole year being trained to run the hydraulic system of a B-24 bomber. But military intelligence got investigating me, and I stayed down there in Biloxi, Mississippi, picking up cigarette butts for 6 months. Finally, I got a furlough. And I did something I've always disapproved of. I used pull. My father knew a major in the Pentagon in what they call special service. And I walked up to the second floor of the Pentagon. The major was behind his desk, and I said, if things go on as they are, I'll be spending the whole war picking up cigarette butts, but I'm a good song leader, and if I could get overseas, I think I'd be of use to the war effort. And by gosh, I got changed to a special service company. Went out to the island of Saipan in the Western Pacific, and I was in charge of hospital entertainment for that little island. I'd bounce around the island in a Jeep, putting up a poster. If you can entertain in any way, whether you're a magician or a musician, Call this telephone number. We got 10,000 wounded here on this island waiting to go home after being in Iwo Jima or Okinawa, and they could sure use some cheering up. And then 3 miles south of me was a tiny little island called Tinian, and a huge bomber took off with a new kind of bomb and flew over Hiroshima. Who knows? Who knows?